if they can talk, the introduction, they can probably.
Yeah.
2 minutes. A minute wasn't gonna be a long time. I don't know.
You ready, John?
Yep.
You're all ready? Good evening. My name is Calla Langston. I am the city clerk here at the city of Buchanan, and I want to welcome everyone joining us here in person and virtual as well. Welcome also to the 5 candidates who are here to discuss the issues in the race for the city commissioner of Buchanan. There are 5 candidates here tonight competing for the job of city commissioner. They are Sean Dennison, Anthony Tony Hauser, Monroe LeMay, Daniel Viansky, and Mark Whedon. Of those 5, the 3 receiving the most votes will be elected commissioner to the city of Buchanan. Helping behind the scenes tonight are staff members here at the city of Buchanan. In addition, we have assistance from the League of Women Voters of Berrien and Cass counties. The League of Women Voters is proud to be a support group in the electoral process all across America at the local, state, and national levels. The League is the one nonpartisan organization that consistently works to promote good government and encourages citizens to become informed and to vote. We thank the League for helping us arrange and conduct this event to help you learn more about the candidates. That said, I would like to introduce our moderator for this Buchanan Forum. He is John Ripley, and he is the communications coordinator for the League of Women Voters of Berrien and Cass counties. John will guide us through this evening's event. John?
Thank you, Calla, and good evening. Yes, my name is John Ripley, and I will serve as tonight's moderator. Special thanks go to Calla Langston and the Buchanan City Council for helping with hosting this event and allowing the use of their tech facilities. We also want to thank the IT staff and their associates. They arranged for tonight's event to be broadcast on Channel 17 and on social media so that Buchanan voters have an opportunity to learn about the candidates. This event will remain on YouTube after tonight, so feel free to recommend it to friends and family and other Buchanan voters. Helping voters to make informed decisions is an important foundation of the League of Women Voters. This evening's forum features U5 candidates competing for 3 Buchanan City Commissioner positions. We hope you will get to know these candidates better by the conclusion of this forum among the people who are here and who are watching. Buchanan City Commission is made up of 5 members who serve 4-year terms. Your mayor and mayor pro tem are selected at a meeting of the commissioners in November following the election. This city, like many others, operates under the commission city manager form of government as prescribed by the charter. Under this model, the city manager is responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of the city, with the Buchanan City Commission's main function being legislative and setting important policies that chart the future of Buchanan. The 5 candidates we will hear from tonight are Sean Dennison, Tony Hauser, Monroe LeMay, Daniel Viansky, and Mark Whedon. We will begin the program this evening with a 2-minute presentation from each candidate. Once their introductory remarks are concluded, I will ask them a series of questions designed to let us all know more about them. The questions are based on topics submitted by Buchanan community members. The 5 candidates will have a set amount of time, 1 minute, to answer each question. Let me stress that our candidates have had no advanced knowledge of any of tonight's questions. At the conclusion of the evening, each candidate will have the chance to provide a concluding statement, this one lasting up to 2 minutes. Our timer is League member Carla Ripley, and Carla will inform our panelists when time is running out, and she will hold up a panel that you can see and the audience can see, so they know why you are summarizing your remarks. This is a nonpartisan election. All candidates are running without party affiliation. However, for our purposes tonight, we will operate using the highly scientific and nonpartisan principle of alphabetical order and variations thereof. So, for the opening statements, we will begin with Mr. Dennison, then Mr. Hauser, Ms. LeMay, then Mr. Viancy, and Mr. Whedon. Sean Dennison, will you please start by giving your introductory remarks?
I will. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone who's here and everyone who's watching. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for holding this forum. Thanks to the the city staff and city administration for all the work they did in making this happen. My hope would be that a forum similar to this is done for the school board so that citizens of Buchanan can see who's running. It's immensely important. A little about myself. I have been on the city commission for 4 years. I've served the last 2 years as mayor. My wife is principal at Ottawa Elementary, and my daughter attends Buchanan High School. 2 reasons that I'm running. The first being, I think I have something to offer as a business owner, and I've been in business management for a long time. I think those skills can be useful to the city. And secondly, as a taxpayer, I want to make sure that our tax dollars are being spent effectively and wisely. So that's the reason that I'm running, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dennison. Mr. Hauser, your opening remarks, please.
First off, thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for everybody who put all the hard work in to get this done today. I'm Tony Hauser. I am a chef and partner at River St. Joe here in town, business owner as well. The reason why I chose to run is because I like to see the way the community has been going for the last few years, and I'd like to see it keep going that way. We're getting ready to lose a pivotal member of the restaurant and retail community on the board here, and I feel like I need to help fill that position to keep to bring more restaurants and retail to the community here. I have a 6-year-old child that goes to Buchanan schools, and she will hopefully graduate from there as well. As a chef, I feel like I can bring fiscal responsibility and keep us on track on where we're looking to go, and have the opportunity to think on the fly and work with anybody on this panel. So I appreciate that, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hauser. Ms. LeMay?
Yes, thank you, everyone. My name is Monroe LeMay. I actually did not grow up here. I did graduate from Buchanan. I am the youngest of 15 children, and I grew up in Israel, so I'm bilingual. I grew up in a community which is very different than here, but not that bad. It was a kibbutz. It's a communal farm. So we definitely know how to work together with each other. It's community living. It's not something I would recommend for everyone, but it did work well for me for the initiation, and is what got me into serving a community. I am currently not working in the business world as I was before. I prefer nonprofit over corporations. I am a full-time caregiver for a 90-year-old parent with Alzheimer's, And I hope to bring to the table a more feminine quality to the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. LeMay. Mr. Viancy.
Hi, I'm Dan Vianski. I live at 103 North Detroit, Buchanan, Michigan. I was born in St. Joe, graduated from Galean. I was commissioner from 2014 to 2018. Been trying to get back in this seat ever since. I made a lot of friends down here. I made a lot of enemies, and I don't apologize to either one. But my history is I graduated from Galean, 1973. I went into the oil patch, Wyoming, 1976. I went to Britain, 1981. I went to Saudi Arabia in 1983. I went to Washington in 1987. After 1987, I worked direct care for 2 years. I worked in real estate for 1.5 years. I worked in restaurant management for Ryan's Family Steakhouse. In that time, I've been married 3 times. I have 6 children. 2 of them are mine, and 4 of them are mine. They're stepchildren. I have 14, I can't remember, don't ask me their names. I have 14 grandchildren. 7 of them live in Knoxville, Tennessee. 7 of them live here in Buchanan, Michigan. 5 of them go to Bridgman. 1 of them goes to Buchanan, and 1 of them is just that big. I currently have a very bad lung disease, so I'm going through that chapter in my life. I am retired. I retired from FedEx Freight 3 years ago because of my lungs. I don't apologize for being politically incorrect, but I know how to get things done, and I know how to do the research that needs to be done to get things done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now Mr. Whedon.
Thank you very much, John. Everybody in attendance, everybody online, Kala, thanks for all your hard work. As always, we can't praise you enough. Currently, I am Mayor Pro Tem. I'm serving the end of my 4-year term for my first term. One of the #1 reasons why I'm running again is because, as Larry has stated many times at our commission meetings, that we have accomplished a great deal. We have spent an exuberant amount of time trying to correct some wrongs that were done over the years. It doesn't mean that it was any one person or any one thing. But what we want to do is we want to continue to have success in the way that we've seen success. I think that we've put the right people in place, the leaders in place to accomplish a lot of great things. I'm from Buchanan, graduated from Buchanan. My children go to Buchanan. Both of my parents are retired teachers from Buchanan. My father and my uncle both served in the U.S. Navy. I also served in the U.S. Navy for 12 years. I believe that we have an opportunity to continue the leadership that we've shown in the last 4 years into the next 4. And I believe that the people that are on the commission today need the continued support to make sure that that leadership is continued on, and the accomplishments that we've already gone through net some other accomplishments. We have individuals from the restaurant business who, if they get on, obviously have a great asset to us to explain what the community needs from a restaurant perspective, from how to run a restaurant, and the leadership that it takes to run that. So I'm very passionate about this. As you can tell, I like to talk a lot, as I've been accused in different emails, and it's not because of any other reason than I just love people. So 30 seconds left. So thank you for arriving, thank you for being online, and John, thank you for hosting.
You're welcome. Well, thank you all
got
for
it.
being here. That brings us to the question period. I'll ask you a question, and each of you will have 1 minute to respond with an answer. I have to say that the Buchanan community has been so generous in submitting questions to us that we'll ask each candidate to limit their answers to 1 minute. And Carla will let you know when that minute is up, and when it's about to be up. The first question, and as you may know, this is random by a computer, rearranged so nobody gets hit with the first question each time. So, but we do have a list of questions that have been submitted, and the first one goes to Mr. Hauser, and it's this. And that question will then, each one of you will want to answer. Why do you want to be a commissioner for the city of Buchanan, and what do you see as your responsibilities as a commissioner?
Well, first off, I'd like to see the community become not redeveloped is probably not the best term, but become back to its heyday, and see where we have money, we have stuff, we have businesses coming in, we need to rebuild the businesses, and we need to bring retail in, and I feel like that's probably the best approach for me to get on the board. And what was the second part of the question?
Well, what do you see as your responsibility
My
as a commissioner?
Gotcha. My responsibility is to be the voice for the 4,200 citizens of Buchanan, and listen to them and see what they want to say and not just use my voice. Thank you.
All right, then, Ms. LeMay?
Thank you. My purpose for running for city commission is, this is my third time, by the way, so I obviously want it badly. I have been here for 20 years, and I absolutely love this community. I do feel that we need a woman on the commission. We have 54% of our population is female, and many of our city workers are female, and I would like to be a part of working with them. And as Mark Wheaton mentioned, in those 20 years, the last 4 years have been really wonderful. You guys have made some amazing changes, and I want to be a part of that change and a part of that building. So as far as my responsibility is to bring my experience from the community and to guide the city manager, not to micromanage. Thank you.
Mr. Whedon?
Thanks, John. Once again, the number one reason that I want to run and be a commissioner, as I stated in the opening, is that I want to continue what we've already done. I think that we've seen growth within our leadership that was presented to us halfway through our term. And as Heather and I have had many discussions, there's areas that we want to see growth in. I think we've seen exceptional growth in many areas. I think we have other areas that need attention. And being that this is still maybe 2 years in now, what we've accomplished is something that I think as a commissioner you have a lot of responsibility to help bring information from the community, spend time in the community, and as Tony said, bring that voice back to Heather or the city manager, whoever that may be, because she can't hear everything, she can't digest everything, and it's the responsibility of each commissioner to try to filter that and bring the best information you can to the city manager to make the best decision for the community. She says, stop.
Sean Dennison?
Originally, I went to school to be an elementary education teacher, and I changed my major to political science, and my mother said, what the hell are you going to do with that? And here I sit. My wife and I joked when we were younger that we would find a small town and she'd be a principal and I would get involved in local politics, and here we are, nearly 25 years later, living in the nicest place in America. Part of the reason I feel it's my duty to do something, I think it's everyone's civic responsibility to give back to their community, and I thought this would be the most effective way for me to do that.
Mr. Vansky?
Accountability, infrastructure, safety, and parks. That's the end of the list. I got into it 8 years ago because it was a bucket list thing. I put my teeth into it, and I haven't let go. If it was going as well as everybody's going to try to tell you it is tonight, I would have never threw my hat back in because I like to fix broken things. The city is probably more broken than it was 4 years ago. We've got lots of income coming into the city, but we've been spending a lot of money. So basically that sums it up as far as why I want to do it and why I'm going to do it. Thank you.
All right, the next question is for Mr. Whedon, and this one is, what is unique about your personality or communication style that makes you a good fit to serve all the people within the township and the city of Buchanan?
Outstanding. Thanks, John. I think the number one thing that sticks out, if you haven't noticed, I don't have any problem speaking. I like to speak in front of people. I think that that's an opportunity when you shake hands, you introduce yourself, you look them in the eye, as we did with John this evening. that's a representation of what Buchanan is. Everywhere I've gone lately, even into Mishawaka, and I've met an individual who we're meeting next week, simply because we were from Buchanan. And he had gone shopping in Niles, and then he came to Buchanan, and it was for cannabis. That is what is in the town. We don't have to pretend that it isn't. And the number one thing that he said is that when I came to Buchanan, I felt like I was in my hometown. I felt safe and I felt comfortable. So when you bring your personality, you bring the same personality back, and I think that that's an inviting personality that people want to talk to and get information from, and that you feel trusted.
Next is Mr. Dennison.
Over the last 4 years, the last two specifically, serving as mayor, I think that I've, and it goes for my professional career too, I think I have the kind of personality that can make people work together. And I feel like I'm good at creating teams and reaching goals. And I think that's what I bring, and hopefully I've shown that over the last 2 years.
And Mr. Hauser.
So as a chef, I have quite the communication skills, trying to keep everybody on point and in the right direction. At the same time, as a hospitality person, you have to be gracious and be able to look somebody in the eye and speak to them, other than some nerves that may get to you, and just kind of roll with it. So that is, as far as that as my personality is to be nice and kind and not raise my voice and speak on a level playing field as everybody else should. So.
And Ms. LeMay.
I would have to say that my personality and has a lot to do with my diversity in my background. I have worked with many different people, different types of people. I lived in New York City, grew up in Europe and in the Middle East. I think that one of my best assets is my honesty, and I'm brutally honest, and not everybody likes that, but that's okay. I don't need everyone to like me, but I do need people to know what the truth is. And that's the part that I want to bring to the table. Transparency. And pretty much, I happen to love seniors. I work really well with older people, and I've proven that here in town, so I would like to bring them to the table.
Well, Mr. Whedon, you're next. The question is,
I don't believe Dan got to answer that question.
Sean, I got to answer it.
oh, I'm sorry.
That's fine. It's going to make it short. The very first word that we're taught is no. It's very easy for me to say no. It's very hard for people to convince me to not say no. And when I do say no, I'm not just saying it out of orneriness. I'm saying it because I want people to step back and look and think about what they're doing. The city of Buchanan has some wonderful opportunities, but we can't keep squandering the money away. We have to concentrate on what is really necessary. Our infrastructure, our safety, our parks. And I am quite willing to talk to people. I work for FedEx Freight. I deal with people every day. Before I retired, I still deal with people every day. But my most important attribute is I'm not scared of saying no and sticking to no. Thank you.
All right. How about Ms. LeMay? How specifically would you ensure that you are adequately representing the interests of all of your constituents?
That's a good question, because no matter what you do, you're never going to please everyone. I'm a good listener. I'm a problem solver. And I'm a team worker. So I do believe that even those who don't like me will have to learn how to sit down and talk to me as I will sit down and talk to them. And that's pretty much it. If you have respect for people, and you listen to them, I don't think that we will have a problem.
Mr. Dennison?
Excuse me. I like to think that the city commission that I lead right now is doing just that. It's listening to people. Over the course of the last couple of months, we've had open houses about the downtown construction project. We've had open houses about city-owned properties and how best to sell them. And specifically to the downtown street project, after 3 open houses, what we heard was the community saying they didn't want to close Rynearson, and so we moved forward with the project to keep Rynearson open. So I feel like we're doing everything that we can to listen to the community, and that's my plan going forward, to continue to do that.
All right, Mr. Hauser?
Well, just the first word would be just to listen and to go out and to speak to the community and to just be present, and to weigh out every decision as the best we can. So, thank you.
Sure. Mr. Whedon?
Sure, thanks, John. I think the best way that you can represent your community is when you go out and you spend time at different events that represent different aspects within the city. You're going to events at the senior center, you're taking your kids to the ballpark. People have an opportunity to meet and greet you outside of this very structured situation and where we just have to present. You go downtown and entertain the community with your presence at Thrill on the Hill. You go out to veterans events, you go out to the cemetery. I think if you're going to sit up here, you being a representative of the city, you have to be out and you have to be in the public. That is one thing that was greatly lacking, and for many years, is majority of the community didn't even know who the commissioners were, what they did, and how they were functioning. And I think that's one thing that when we say that we're being elected by the community, we truly are being elected by the community and the voters that made a decision to put you there, and you have to represent them even in times of disagreement.
All right. And Mr. Viancy?
I get out and about quite a bit, but probably not as much as I should. But I'm representing the people by really paying attention to where and how the money gets spent. If you're very, very discretionary about spending other people's money, you'll be getting along with way more, whether they agree or disagree with you, because nobody's ever going to agree with you sitting in this chair. You're going to have somebody very aggravated. It's just a degree of aggravation sitting in this chair. So if you always look at the taxpayer's dollar and don't look at anything else, you have to listen to opinions. But bottom line, if the decision is the best for the community, for their dollars, that's what you have to do. Because the number of people in here tonight does not represent the city of Buchanan by any definition. There's 4,500 people in this town. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Vansky, you're next.
Okay.
And that question is, that we got that we're spending, what are some of the qualities you possess that demonstrate that you are capable of successfully leading a team toward success?
I was a driller on a North Sea platform for 10 years. I was a driller in Saudi Arabia for a year. I have my CNA license in the state of Indiana. I did direct care in the state of Wyoming for a year and a half. I've been married 3 times. I have 6 children and 14 grandchildren. Need I say any more? The driller in the North Sea is somewhat like being in the service, but not, because I was the ultimate. I was the operator. My bosses listened to me, and my subordinates listened to me, because I was operating the rig. I was actually the man calling the shots, making a hole in the ground. So I got leadership. I owned my own club. I've had a real estate license, and I worked in a restaurant for 2 years. Thank you.
Mr. Hauser?
Well, to be quite frank, I'm a chef, and to say to lead a team is what I do every day. Is to take a ragtag team of, we have high school kids, we have college kids, we have anybody that doesn't know how to cook, and just to make a successful service go through is the biggest deal, and we do this on a daily basis. And just being being compassionate is the best way to be a leader. Thank you.
All right, and Mr. Dennison?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. What are some of the qualities you possess that demonstrate that you are capable of successfully leading a team toward success?
Well, I would say I'm a good listener, but I had to make you repeat that question. So I like to think that I am a good leader, just based on some of the accomplishments the city's made in the last couple of years. We've made significant progress towards becoming a redevelopment-ready community, which has opened up new funding opportunities for the city. We're implementing improvements in the North Side neighborhood that will improve quality of life. That neighborhood was forgotten for a long time, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done there. We're making strategic moves to redevelop key city-owned parcels that have been vacant for decades. And we're doing all this by listening to our constituents and making wise choices. So, again, that's what I hope to do for the next 4 years.
And Ms. LeMay?
Thank you. I would have to say most of my jobs have always been in leadership. I'm a team player. I build people up, and I plan on doing that with our community, considering I've always sat on several boards for the last 20 years. And I believe in making everyone in the room's culture very important. So diversity and inclusion is important to me. And I think that by leading with that, I could definitely make a difference.
And Mr. Whedon?
Thanks, John. The number one thing that we have to bring to the table when we think about the quality of a leader is we have to look at our teams and have they been successful. And in that, you will find whether or not you're a successful leader, because your team is going to help you be successful. I've led teams of drivers for over 20 years in my positions. My company over at JB Hunt, north in Benton Harbor, I had 30 drivers over at Redbud Roots. I had 20 people that I led over there, and I currently lead 6 brokers today. I've had many discussions lately about leadership, so I appreciate the question, because the one thing that the society does not do, what our school system doesn't do, and really it's a responsibility of the individual, is that when you get in the position of what they call leadership, that doesn't mean you know what you're doing. You have to study. There's individuals out there named John C. Maxwell, one of the foremost experts in the discussion of leadership. You've got to have a personal fortitude that you want to be better, not only for yourself, but for the team that you're in the presence of. And that when you, oh, she said stop. She's very tough. You got to be careful of her.
All right. We'll go back to you, Mr. Whedon.
Yes, sir.
Please describe your personal process for how you weigh competing viewpoints and then come to a final decision that you think is right for the citizens of Buchanan.
There is, I'm going to hijack it from one of my previous companies, and it's something that I believe everybody will probably take away from this. It's very important when you're in situations where you have conflict of opinions. And the 3 things that you have to do first and foremost, always, in every situation, is listen, understand, and care. That doesn't mean that you agree, but you listen, you understand, and you care. And if you take those 3 top things and you do that first, then there is no way that you are ever going to come to the wrong conclusion, even if it's not the one that the individual or group you're speaking with wants you to come to the conclusion on. Sean and I have sat up here for 4 years. Dan has sat up here for 4 years. We've definitely made decisions that others did not agree with. We've also made decisions that everybody agreed with. You take your lumps where you can, and you make the best of it, and you try to do what's the best for the community and the money that they supply through taxes. So.
All right, Mr. Vansky.
Oh, Lord. I'm going to ask you to repeat the question just so I can, because I went off on a drift there.
That's okay. Describe your personal process for how you weigh competing viewpoints and then come to a final decision that you think is right for the people of Buchanan.
I like to find the most, you take the question, you ask the question, you find the most opposing, the opposite sides of the question. And then you go home and you dig into the computer and you figure out what's the most beneficial for the most people. And how much is it gonna cost, or how little is it gonna cost? Where's the most productivity? And as far as, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to kind of beat up on Mark here, but caring, when I got fired from a job, they told me they cared about me right after they said they fired me. Now, I can't say publicly what I thought of that guy caring for me. I didn't give two hoots, not two hoots about him caring for me. But the decision was made. And I hope that's prevalent to what this discussion is. Opposites, you ask the question, you get the opposites, and then you go in and you investigate it, and you make a decision based on what your intelligence is and what your investigation has done for you. Thank you.
And Mr. Dennison?
Well, I think when anybody's making a decision, it comes down to their intuition and their gut, and it's based on their life experiences and what they know and don't know. But for me personally, I think what's always at the forefront is just to do the right thing. There's never a wrong time to do the right thing.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hauser?
Well, first off, you have to sit and listen and carefully weigh out all the decisions and to hear everybody's viewpoint, whether you agree with them or not. And again, I'll have to agree with Sean and to say that you have to do the right thing. You have to do what's best for you and for your community, but you have to listen to everybody, because it's not, when it comes down to it, it's not just your decision, it's your decision for everybody in the community. So, thank you.
Ms. LeMay?
Thank you. I will reiterate exactly what both Tony and Sean said, that you do have to do the right thing. And growing up in the Middle East, you learn a lot about conflict. So from my personal experience, it really is about finding the common denominator that people have in order to find something that you can agree on, because there's always going to be something that we don't agree on. But if you find a common denominator, there's always going to be something that we have in common, whether it be children, a parent, you name it. We will be able to find some sort of peace. Thank you.
All right, well, let's move on then to Mr. Dennison. And your question is, when you are personally faced with difficult choices, what are the core values that you have that guide your decision making?
Wow.
Right.
This year's getting deep.
It goes back to, I think, the way I grew up. I grew up in a household that had an ex-Marine and a mother who were very strict. We always said please and thank you and yes sir and no ma'am, and I think that goes a long way in teaching you what's right and how to respect people and how to make decisions in the end. And that when you're raised that way, it doesn't go away, it stays with you. So I try to be respectful of everyone, and again, just always try and do the right thing.
Mr. Viancy?
I just always think about it, what the long-term ramifications are, not the immediate gratification. It's about, that's a tough question. You always have to hash it out and then make the decision. And everybody wants to say the right decision. Well, the right decision is for the individual. It's not for the masses. And you got to try to contemplate how you're making the right decision for the masses. And you represent everybody, but so many times up here, the people, like we've got 20 people in here right now. You 20 people will be the most noisy people down here at City Hall. But it's not fair to represent you. You have to represent everybody. And that kind of goes back to the question about getting the most diverse answers. Because you can't always do the right thing. You can't. You just can't do the right thing all the time. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Whedon?
Very good. Thanks, John. Your question was, what do you, when you're personally faced with a difficult decision, and how does your upbringing affect that? And growing up here in Buchanan and being somebody who was represented by two individuals who taught other students, I think that you have to go with the values that you're taught, and that's, as Sean had said, honesty, kindness, and just listening. It keeps being brought up. And I think that is something that we have to have our children taught every day, is that there's nothing wrong with standing your ground and having your opinion. But when faced with difficult decisions, you have to, as we said in different topics, was to do the right thing. And I think that you have to continue to push that through your children.
And Ms. LeMay?
This is going to sound very strange, but for me, it's always been a struggle. So I pray a lot. I pray all the time. I can't make a decision without praying, and I do get the answers. And if the answer is what I think is the right answer, and I hope it is, all I can hold on to is the fact that I did the right thing. It comes from the heart. It's genuine. And if I offend anyone in the process, it wasn't meant to be offensive. So I do pray. That's what I do. Thank you.
All right, and Mr. Hauser?
So when you're in the face of a difficult decision, you have to have empathy for the person for the people that you're making that decision for. You need to listen to them. You have to have compassion for the situation, to not just jump into it head first and just know that the decision you're going to make is the best decision for everybody. You have to also be respectful to others. There's no room for being mean or belittling anybody. You just need to just take it forward and take it the best way you can, and to do as much research as you can at that point. Thank you.
All right. Ms. LeMay? Marijuana is a topic of much discussion and debate over the years in Buchanan. What are your thoughts on the topic, and what direction would you like to see the city go on in this issue from a public policy standpoint?
I'm afraid you picked the one person that probably is going to disagree with everyone, but I'm not happy with the marijuana that's in town. I know it helps a lot for financially, and we can do more, and we're making a profit, but it goes against my philosophy, and it's problematic for me. So now that we have it here, and I have to accept it, I would like to see more. I would like to see more of an educational platform. We need to educate our public as to what it's all about. We have to have forums. We have to have a place where we can ask questions. Our children are their children, and they need to understand that this is not for everyone, and they need to be responsible when they are doing this. So, yeah, I need some education. I need some answers.
So I actually would like to ask a follow-up question of all of you that I should have added to this question. And that is, how do you feel about it personally? And what if we went back 4 years when we asked this question at this panel 4 years ago? Everybody was kind of surprised when this topic came up. And how do you feel about it now, 4 years later, in Buchanan? I mean, now I'll ask everyone the same
Okay.
question.
I have to say that I am pleasantly surprised at how well it is being maintained, and how respectful I think that everybody is in making it happen. But I still think we need education. We need to be a little bit more kind of upfront and transparent, not just to hear the side of how great it is, but to also know what the consequences are, because we don't have answers to everything. I would like to see more of our community giving some sort of classes about it. Thank you.
Mr. Hauser?
So cannabis is good for several different reasons, medical reasons, and for the most part here, economic redevelopment, for bringing funds back to the community. It's here, and we should build off of that. We should use the cash, use the money that's here for economic redevelopment, and we should use the fact that people are coming to this town again, and that we should find different ways to keep them here by restaurants, retail, and all of that good stuff. To say my personal feelings on how it is now based on it is how it was then, it is, they keep it pretty under control. It's not a ragtag bunch of people running around just smoking pot everywhere. It's a good way for people to bring money and community back into this community. Thank you.
We have a little extra time, so if you want to take another minute.
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Vansky?
Well, I was on the committee that passed marijuana. I sat in this room with this room filled with anti-marijuana.
Yes, sir.
So that was one of the major decisions in this town that I had to overcome, with 50 people in here screaming blue bloody murder that they didn't want it. But knowing what the finances were gonna be, and having a city manager saying, don't talk about the money, don't talk about the money. Well, to me, it was pretty much all about the money, and it wasn't about the funds that we were getting from the fees or the licenses or the taxes we were gonna get directly from the marijuana, but it was from the real estate boom that we were gonna feel, because people in the city of Buchanan don't have the money. People didn't come to Buchanan because we didn't have, even though we want to be a destination town, we called ourselves a destination city, we didn't have anything to come to the city for except for Lowry's. So there was nobody to come into the city to build the city up, and the money that came in from marijuana built the city up, period. As far as 4 years later, I voted against the recreational marijuana, simply because of the way it was written. I don't agree with the state just throwing it out there and saying, you local communities, do what you want, and we'll rein you in as we feel, and they're still doing that. They could have wrote it at the state level, they should have wrote it at the state level. The city of Buchanan, I will give Bill marks, Brenda Hess, if she's listening anywhere, Brenda Hess was marvelous, absolutely marvelous, at the head, sitting in this chair, doing the marijuana. She conducted great meetings. Deborah, I can't believe it's coming out of my mouth. Deborah did a really good job of putting the marijuana together. There was a lot done by Deborah. So it's not a day for compliments for me, but I just gave a bunch. Do I get another minute?
How many more compliments do you have? Because I'm writing these down. I'm definitely writing these down.
It's being recorded.
Well, I'll give you all another minute, because another one of the questions that we got was, what, if anything, should Buchanan do to promote in our adjoining states the marijuana situation here? Sorry?
We've already got two that I've answered.
Yeah. Sean and Mark haven't been able to answer the last.
Okay. So do you think that Buchanan should promote in Illinois and on, et cetera, that this is a marijuana situation here?
Is Sean up next?
Hey, Sean, we still have to answer the last two questions.
ahead,
I
Sean.
got two questions.
Yeah.
Oh, the original one about marijuana topic debate,
Oh.
about what direction, yeah, we
I'm
still.
sorry, Mr. Whedon, did you wanna, you didn't get the chance to answer that.
No, and Mr. Dennison didn't either, so that's okay. Thanks, John. I know with the marijuana, there's a lot of interesting topics. So first and foremost, I will just get it right out of the way. I have always been a proponent of this. If you've watched any meetings, you've been to any discussions, if you meet me in person, we're gonna be on this topic, I guarantee it. And not only because I worked at Redbud Roots for many years, they're a wonderful company, they brought a lot of jobs to this community, in addition to the processors that are here, the grow operations that attempted to get off the ground that turned into a dispensary. And if you look at the properties where these dispensaries are currently housed, they were vacant properties. So first and foremost, for everybody who thinks that they wanted something better, they weren't bringing it to the table. Not one person in Buchanan was bringing something to the table that was doing what cannabis has done. Now, that being said, yes, we got money from the state, and I will agree with Dan. They definitely should have wrote the tax differently. And if I'm elected for the next 4 years, in conjunction with Brad Paquette, what I am going to propose, and he's already proposed it to the state, is that we have the ability to tax locally. And that would allow us to keep the money here within the city. Now, it's going to be a marginal tax. On average, they make about $6 million a year per dispensary, right? Those numbers can be, somebody's going to correct me, I'm sure. However, you can imagine how beneficial that would be if we didn't have to wait for the state. As far as the recreational goes, if we hadn't had recreational, the businesses would not be where they're at today. And I'd be happy to explain why that is, but medical would have never gotten us there. Absolutely no chance. What was and I usually don't say, so give me 1 second. I do believe that we need to educate the public. That is probably the #1 reason why we have misinformation, disinformation, and discontent, is because people do not understand exactly what it is and what it does for people, #1. #2, it gives people jobs, and #3, it entices companies and businesses to move. If my numbers are correct, I believe we had 96 new homes purchased in the city this year. Tell me, gosh, did anybody else know of another year within the last 10 years where 96 homes were purchased in Buchanan?
I think that might have had something to do with the pandemic. We have a big demographic change happening over the past couple of years.
I don't disagree with you. Yeah. We can expand on that on another time.
You'll have time when this is done to talk to the candidates? Sure,
No worries.
You're posing a question.
sure. The next question,
Sean needs to answer
I'm
still.
sorry.
Sure. So my personal beliefs, I'm a proponent of small government and personal freedom. And, when you love freedom, you have to allow other people to do what they're allowed to do with the freedoms that they're given. So that being said, one of the very few things that I can agree with previous commissions doing, because there's not much that I agree with, was allowing marijuana. If you look at what it's done, at the hundreds of jobs it's created, the millions of dollars that have been invested in dilapidated buildings, it was a wise move. Now we have people moving here, people visiting here, really visiting here. We have a lot of people visiting here. But it's allowed us to do some things to keep them here. So now we're offering, restaurant incentives and facade grants, and there's other things in the works. My concern is trying to find other industry, and it's one of the things that we're working on diligently, the city administration and staff and the city commission as well, is making sure that we don't end up with another Clark situation where cannabis just up and disappears and we're left all standing around with, again, vacant buildings and no jobs. So we're working really hard to try and diversify our industrial and manufacturing in the city. We're limited because of the number of buildings we have and properties that are available, but it's something we're working really hard towards.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hauser, I'm sorry. I overlooked you before. So now, another area of hot topics in the city are issues related to blight and code enforcement. What are your views on these issues, and what direction do you think is the best course of action for the city moving forward regarding matters of blight and code enforcement?
So as far-
Blight and code enforcement. Mm-hmm.
So, Mr. Hauser?
So as far as blight, there are lots of federal grant programs out there to bring money back in to help rebuild and to help seniors and low-income housing people, just the community in general, to do owner-occupied rehab grant programs and rebuild their houses and do stuff like that. So it would be beneficial for us to seek out more grant programs and see what federal tax dollars we could bring into play. As far as code enforcement, I think we would probably just need to have a code enforcement person that actually comes out and does code enforcement. So, thank you.
Mr. Whedon?
Thanks, John. I think we had put into place a blight ordinance for this specific reason, so that we had authority from our code enforcement officer to hold these individuals accountable. The one thing that I will say, though, when you said what's the best course of action, John, number one thing is we need to find out what's going on with these individuals. Is it something that they're not able to do themselves? Do we need to find them avenues to get the money? Do we need to have volunteers? We have a great, great city of volunteers. A lot of them are in this room. And if we could find a way to assist the individuals potentially clean up their yard, or there is a blight situation where it is an abandoned home, we now have an ordinance to address that. I do believe that we need to make sure our code enforcement is, it was stated, needs to be more diligent on enforcing things that are causing us to be in a blight situation. If we're giving out tickets for trash cans being out too long, or people parking behind their house because they don't have a pad, there's a lot more things that can be done to take care of blight and code enforcement than those type of individual things.
Mr. Bianski?
Code enforcement has always been an issue in the city of Buchanan. We've had two part-time code enforcement officers for as long as I can remember. They always bragged about how much money they collected for handing out tickets for long grass or making old people shove their sidewalks. That was the limit on code enforcement. The reason why we haven't done more in this administration is because the city itself, a lot of times, is under code enforcement, and my suggestion was write everybody up and then give explanation as to why it's not being taken care of. It's not being taken care of. We still have two code enforcement officers, but now we got a $70,000 a year administrator. We still don't have code enforcement. So the answer is not more education. The answer is doing the job. The answer is just doing the job. We have people in this office, we have people in administration that, it can be done. And it's a small town. You can't continue to buy and pay people because we don't have the tax dollars for that. I'm sorry, we don't. Thank you.
Mr. Dennison?
Well, one of the things that's been helping with, blight and rundown properties has been all the business that's come to town. And, a lot of our buildings have been fixed up. When I came into office in 2018, the city had somewhere north of 25 properties that we'd acquired over the years that were sitting vacant, that the city had to maintain. And that's not good for anybody. The other thing I'll mention is the Northwest neighborhood was forgotten for a long time. They were neglected. And in the last 3 years, we've made significant progress with that neighborhood. I feel like they feel like they're listened to for a change. And I think it's a good example of when you help someone fix their property, the person next door thinks, man, you got to keep up with the Joneses, so you want to fix your house up too. And it kind of goes back to what Mark was saying, that it all starts with being a good neighbor. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. And I agree with Mark. I think, the first thing we need to do rather than write tickets is find out if there's an issue that can be helped with some of these residents that, that may need assistance of some kind. So it's always been an issue in the city. I think that it's getting better, but there's still more work to do.
You took a drink when she held it up.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I've got you.
Need a water break.
Okay, I would have to agree here with both Sean and Mark when it comes to, let's find out what it is that is causing them to not do what they need to do. I think what we're realizing is, getting back to our seniors, many of the homes that seniors own, they no longer can afford or get the type of help that they need to make sure that they're up to code on their homes or whatever. I think we really do need to be the very nice neighbor. And we could help, I mean, we could make a difference. As far as the code, the code enforcement, we need some more training on that one. I think we need to train the code enforcer as to what he needs to do. And that's
All
it.
right.
Thank you.
Let's see, Mr. Viancy, what do you think should be done about parking and traffic?
What should be done about parking and traffic? Clark Equipment had 3,000 employees here 40 years ago now. We still talk about Clark Equipment like it's still there. But they had 3,000 employees working at Clark Equipment. The city of downtown Buchanan is the same city that was here then, now. There's not a parking issue. It's a people issue. Nobody wants to walk a half a block. Nobody wants to walk a half a block. We do not have a parking issue. You know, we have people doing U-turns. We don't have officers downtown. There's only so much enforcement that can go on. But you hand out a few tickets, they understand, and you have a people issue. The marijuana places could pay. I got parking behind my building. I got parking down Oak Street. We do not have a parking issue in this city. We have a people issue in this city. Thank you.
Sure. Mr. Hauser?
I would be reluctant to agree, but we do have to agree that there is not really a parking issue. It is pretty much, we have parking, we have plenty of parking all over the community. People just need to get out and walk. And I think as part of our downtown infrastructure program, we would be making our town a little more walkable and hopefully get our community out there to walk around and get to the places where we need to be. Traffic, I think that we would potentially need a little bit more enforcement, not just somebody sitting in a police car sitting down the road. I think that they should actually get out and hand out tickets and keep the traffic enforcement in line. So thank you.
Sure, and Mr. Dennison?
Well, I'm gonna agree with both the gentlemen sitting next to me. I don't think we have a parking problem either. I don't think people come to Buchanan to park. That's not why you go somewhere. If you have something that people want, they're gonna park wherever they need to park. One thing that I think we can do to improve the parking situation in the city of Buchanan, though, is improve the signage that we have that directs people to public parking, that I don't know, more clearly explains that there are fire hydrants that you can't park in front of, or there are handicap accessible parking spots that you shouldn't be parking the wrong way in. There's more of a driver problem, I think, with some of our visitors than there is an actual parking problem.
Right, and Ms. LeMay?
I would have to agree with all three. I don't feel that we have a parking problem.
Excuse me.
Living in New York City, we don't have a parking problem. We have a problem with people walking. The only thing that I would be, just like Sean said, we do need better signage, and we need to make sure that we have handicap accessible parking for those who cannot walk. But we don't have a parking problem as far as I'm concerned.
Mr. Whedon?
Thanks, John. You know, the one example I always use is that if anybody has had the opportunity to go up to South Haven, and I've went up there and I've met with individuals from the city, and their city has the exact same complaint. But I can tell you this, there is not one person that I've ever seen go up to South Haven that drove through town, didn't find a parking spot, and then left. What do? They find a parking spot over where the farmer's market is, and they walk. It's an amazing thing. You make a product, you make a restaurant, you make items, you have stores that people want to venture to, they're going to go. I go. I don't ever complain to South Haven that I can't find a parking spot to get over to Captain Lou's or to go down to the beach or see the lighthouse. What do? I walk. And why do I walk? Because I go to stores that are enjoyable, and I can't always park in front of them. I'm not mad at the city, I'm not mad at the other visitors. So once again, as the others have already stated, it's not a parking problem, it's a walking problem. It's the #1 issue in the United States of America is obesity. It's the #1 killer of individuals in the United States. And it's because people do not walk enough. So it's not a parking problem.
Well, that concludes the time that we allotted for questioning. We'll now ask all of you to give you have 2 minutes to give your thoughts or your closing remarks. And we'll start with Mark Whedon.
Thanks, John, once again, and thanks, John, finally, for the last question. I think we've covered a lot of topics tonight. I think you guys have gotten a good idea of where we stand on things. I think that, once again, what we've done in the 4 years has been given everybody a true feeling of what it means to be on a commission that actually communicates. It is part of the community. And I think about the commissioners that I serve with, and I hope I get to do so again. You have Larry, who's an exceptional representative of the American Legion. You know, we have Sean Dennison, who runs his own businesses. We have Cameron Downey, who owns multiple businesses and runs a restaurant. You have Patrick Swim, who is a banker. You have myself, who's run multiple businesses and been in leadership positions for years and grew up in Buchanan. I think that we have a great group of people who are representative of the city of Buchanan, and I believe that that is something I want to be part of once again.
Mr. Vansky?
Well, I'm Dan Vianski. You all know me some way or another. To be quite honest, I really wanted to remain a commissioner when I became a commissioner the first 4 years. I have somewhat of a reputation, and I don't apologize for it. Taxpayers should be as mad as I get sometimes. I'm not out of control when I lose my temper, though, Mr. Ryman. I'm well in control. I'm just very hostile about it, and it doesn't come across very nice sometimes. And if any one of you was subjected to 25% of the abuse that I've been subjected to down here, you'd all be just as hostile. So I don't agree with what's been going on, but I don't agree Mark and Sean didn't get any training whatsoever the first 2 years they were in this office. I didn't get any training, but I dug and I dug and I dug, and I kept digging deeper. And the more they kept telling me no, the deeper I dug and the madder I got. The more they poked me, the more I poked back. Now, Sean and Mark have tried, but we've spent a whole lot of money down here in the last 2 years, a whole lot of money. And I don't agree with 90% of what they've spent. And it's going to take the city a long time to fix what's been undone, or to undo what's been done. And it's no one person's fault, but it's a collaborative problem. And we really need, it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a lot of tax dollars. And I do want to put out there, we're looking at a $100 million tax bill within the next 18 years that nobody wants to talk about. A minimum of $100 million. And that's our water and sewer. So that's thoughts that you got to think about, not counting the money that we got to put in schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to respond very quickly to what you were saying, I know this is not a debate, but when you close your eyes to things that are happening that are not correct, that are illegal, that are basically wrong, you sit up here and you close your eyes to that for so many years. That's why we're spending so much money now, to fix it. And that's what these gentlemen have been doing for the last 4 years, as they've been fixing a problem that people have been closing their eyes to when everyone knew that it was happening. So that's it for that. I just want to let you all know, it doesn't matter which one of us gets in. I think that every one of us here has a passion for this community, and even though one of us may not get on, or two of us may not get on, I believe that we will continue to stay behind the scenes and help in any way that we want, because if we don't do that, then we really were not here for the community. And that's all I have to say, is may the best person win, but not even that, may the person that you people want win. That's how I feel about it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Now, I'd like you all to meet our president of the League of Women Voters.
We
Okay,
still,
so we
we
have
still have a couple of people that need
a few more
to
people.
say her goodbyes.
Yeah.
So, yes.
I'm
So
sorry.
first off, oh,
Oh, Faith, I have one more person.
3 more.
two more
Two
people,
more?
yep.
You want to keep going?
Yeah, it was just, we were all going in alphabetical order, so I figured we'd just keep going in alphabetical order.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, Dennison
ahead.
and
I'm
Hall.
sorry, me? Okay. Well, I am kind of shocked that no questions regarding our infrastructure came up, as Dan mentioned, because it is a really important topic in our community. And much like Monroe stated, for a long time, our city has kind of been neglected. There was not a lot of maintenance done. It seems like every time we turn around, there's something breaking or something that needs to be replaced or something that needs fixed. And it's not just Buchanan, it's every small town in Michigan, unfortunately, that is dealing with the same thing. However, over the last 4 years, I'm really proud of the fact that we have hired really good people who know what they're doing. For the first time in a long time, this building is full of people who are really good at their job. And I'm very proud of that. I've heard Mr. Viancy, complain that we haven't gotten anything done in 4 years. I would disagree adamantly. Some of what you're seeing, though, there's an old saying that direction is more important than speed because there's lots of people going nowhere fast. We've been very deliberate and very strategic about how we're spending taxpayer dollars and what plans we want to make sure that we're successful in spending those dollars. So I need 4 more years to keep that work going in the right direction. So with your vote, you can make that happen. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
my turn?
Yes.
All right, so I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today and for everybody out there in TV land that's been watching. So I have to agree with Sean, the trajectory of this town is going in the right direction, and it just needs people that can make decisions respectfully and not get hot-headed and not blow up, and people that can just look towards the future and not towards the past. And we need to, we have a lot of restructuring to do, and all the decisions we're gonna make is not going to make everybody happy, but we have to just look towards what's best for this community and what's best for Buchanan and what's best for our children. So thank you, and thanks again for coming out.
Thank you. So now, Faith Schoon is here to summarize and introduce herself. She's our president.
Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. I'm Faith Schoon, the president of the League of Women Voters, Berrien and Cass County. It's been an honor to be here this evening. This is one of the first city commissioner forums I have attended, and I've been very impressed with the dedication and the thoughtfulness and the desire to serve your community that I have seen. The League of Women Voters focuses on educating citizens, about our democratic system of government and that the right to vote is precious. We hope that forums like these will inform and encourage citizens to vote. Since 1962, the voting rate has been going up. In 2018, it was the highest voting rate in the area since 1962. Half of the eligible voters in the area voted, and hopefully that number will be higher this year. There's no reason for anyone to wait. You can vote now by no reason absentee ballot, and you can vote use your ballot until November 7th. You can register and vote here at the clerk's office now or on election day. And we want to let you know that you should not miss this opportunity, and it is an easy thing to do, to vote. And please encourage your neighbors to vote as well. More information that you might need about voting is a mouse click away on the Berrien County Clerk's website and the Michigan Secretary of State's website. Vote now or on November 8th. And we have provided on the table near the entrance door voter guides that you're welcome to take with you. Also, some information about the League of Women Voters that you might want to take home and read and think about perhaps joining us in helping to make our democracy work. I would like all of us here and all of us watching from home to give these 5 candidates a round of applause. Anyone willing to serve their community by running for office deserves our thanks. And special thanks goes to Calla Langston, the Buchanan City Clerk, and the Buchanan technical staff for organizing this evening's forum. Thank you for attending this forum in person and at home, and have a good, safe evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Calla.
Faith, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
If you vote absentee,